Hello boys and girls, welcome to Mrs. Bandu's Math Movies. This is lesson 3-8 for course 3, rotations. Our objective is to graph rotations and identify rotational symmetry. Okay, so again, we do have several definitions in this particular section. A rotation is a transformation that turns a figure about a fixed point. Whoops, sorry about that. There, you can see it all now. Okay, the center of rotation is the fixed point about which a figure is rotated. And the angle of rotation is the number of degrees a figure rotates. A figure has rotational symmetry if it can be rotated 180 degrees or less and exactly match its original figure. Okay, so let's, again, these terms you should be familiar with and be able to use and apply as we go through this chapter and section. Number 1. Does this figure have rotational symmetry? If so, give the angle of rotation. Okay, so if you look here, the image matches the original after 1/8 of a complete rotation. If you're not sure, what you can always do is take a piece of tracing paper. Here I'm using wax paper out of the kitchen because I can see through it. Any paper that you can see through is fine. There is something also called tracing paper that you might use in art to trace. But if I rotate 1/8 of, if I trace this and rotate, and I'm not going to, well, yes I am. I'll trace it. Okay. And it's a little difficult to see because I just basically got the outline. But if I turn it 1/8, move the vertex over 1/8 of the way, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices, it matches. It continues to match. So the image matches the original after 1/8 of a complete rotation. 1/8 times 360, when I simplify, gives me 45 degrees. So yes, it has rotational symmetry. So you would need to answer that question. And then 1/8 times 360 is 45, so the angle of rotation is 45 degrees. Okay, and then you also have a quick check question about rotational symmetry. And be sure you have that completed before we meet next time. Let's go to the next section, or the next example, and this is graphing rotations. Okay, number 2 asks us to draw the image of rectangle ABCD after a rotation of 90 degrees about the origin. Okay, so our step 1 is to draw and trace. So it's giving us directions here. Draw a triangle ABCD with vertices 3, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So here's A. Negative 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This would be B. We just go in the order that they're given. Negative 3, negative 2. 1, 2. C. And 3, negative 2. D. Okay. Place a piece of tracing paper over your original image. So here is that piece of tracing paper, and I'm going to graph my points or mark my points so that I can see them. Let me scoot up a little bit, I apologize. And I'm also going to trace the X and Y axis. And again, it may not show up real plainly, but it should show up enough that I can actually see what I'm going to do. Place your pencil on the origin and rotate the paper. Okay, now something you wanted to remember, that in this book the authors have chosen that if they don't specify otherwise, we're going to be rotating counterclockwise. So rotations in this book are counterclockwise, which is the opposite direction in which the clock runs. So I'm going to put my paper here. 90 degrees would be 1/4 of a turn. So I'm going to rotate so that what was at the y-axis is now going to come and meet at the x-axis. Okay, and then you can gently poke holes through and mark. Okay, so gently may not be a good word here. I'm going to have to lift up and actually poke them like this. And I'm actually using just a regular pencil. This is a little bit going to be sharper. Okay, so I'm going to start back out. And actually what I should have probably done is label at least one of these, like A, B, C, D, even in the general vicinity, so that once I rotate, it's going to be easier for me to actually name my vertices. Okay, so this is going to give me A prime right here. So through the little hole, you want to mark A prime. So you probably get a little mark on there. And, okay, and then line it back up. Oops. B prime. Got a little bit bigger hole there. C prime. Oops. And again, if I move it, which sometimes you might need to, and D prime. Okay, so my original, which I didn't trace and I probably should have, is right here. And I'll do that in pen so you can see. And the rotated figure is right here, and I'll do this in pencil so it looks a little bit different. I'm trying to make it dark enough so that you can see. And again, all of these, so the rotated figures mark A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Okay, so I took the figure, rotated it 90 degrees counterclockwise, again consistent with what the authors of the book have noted as their directions. Okay, so you have a quick check here that's asking you to rotate a figure a couple of different times. One 180 degrees and another time 270 degrees from the original location. If you can, again, if you don't have wax paper at home, you can always just use regular white paper. It'll be a little more difficult to see, but any kind of paper that you can see enough through and then poke little holes through should work. I will provide some type of tracing paper, either the wax paper or other paper at school for you to trace with it. Hopefully you will be able to see pretty easily. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you in class. Please get these quick checks done. If you have any questions, as always, you want to bring those in so we can answer them and clarify. See you soon.